I'm Josh Cooperman, and this is Convo by Design. After 10 years doing this show, I am still happy to say that I love doing this. If I'm being completely honest, it's not because I'm surprised and delighted by the design. I am, but that's not why. I have grown accustomed to seeing extraordinary design and architecture, spectacular new products, amazingly talented creatives doing the work. But it's the people and their stories that keep me in a childlike state of wonder. That's why I continue to love doing the show the way that I do, and today's episode is no different. This is part of a new series called American Made by Hand, and it features a friend, Brad Glock, who turns wood into exquisite pieces of Americana, of art, really. And you're about to hear his story. So I met Brad while learning to turn myself, something I have wanted to do for a very long time. After moving to Oklahoma to work on the design house, I had the chance to do that, and Brad was one of the instructors. Turning is like any other passion or endeavor. You have to love doing it, and the skill and art follow, as is the case with Brad. His work is simply amazing. As always, you can check out the show notes for links, and you'll find Brad's work there. But what is to follow here on the podcast is my conversation with Brad as part of a new series I'm starting, as mentioned, called American Made by Hand. As the best designers know, if you're accessorizing, clients want the story, the provenance, an understanding of the meaning behind products and materials they are bringing into their homes. Products and materials that they are bringing in, made in America by American artists, is something that there's been a resurgence. And I'm thrilled to introduce you to Brad. And Brad is an artist and a craftsman. Years ago, you might remember me speaking with Rossoblu chef and restaurateur Steve Samson, who explained that he was a craftsman, not an artist. And I pressed him on it. He explained he could make something you've eaten before in northern Italy, and it would taste exactly as you remembered it, like your grandmother's grandmother made it. But he doesn't create new work. At the time, I had to wrap my brain around that a little bit, and that left an indelible mark on me. A desire not to create, but to recreate with exactness. It's amazing. But Brad is an artist and a craftsman. He innovates using wood, a lathe, and other items as they materialize. But he can also make something exact and specific because he has got a firm skill on what he does, and a firm grasp on the skills that he possesses. So I had an idea. I asked Brad to work with me to create a custom tableware set for the Tulsa Remote Design Project as we were working on the dining room, which was a joint editorial effort. We ideated, designed it, and he turned it. Now, I will tell you, I did sand a little bit though, and I have a scar actually. I do. I have a scar to prove it. That is a story for another day. But today we're going to talk about. I'm going to introduce you to Brad. I consider Brad a friend, and I am thrilled, truly, to share his story with you. This is Brad Glock on Convo by Design's American Made by Hand. I am incredibly proud of Convo by Design in year 10, and I'm equally proud of my partnership with Thermosol. They've been presenting partners of Convo by Design for 3 years now, and there is a certain amount of pride that comes with saying that the show is presented by the company that is the best in the world at what they do. Thermosol engineers the most exceptional smart shower products and steam shower systems worldwide for a few reasons. They were the first company to design, patent the technology here in the U.S. dating back to 1958. Thermosol, a U.S. brand, a U.S. manufacturer in Round Rock, Texas, employs an engineering team that designs, tests, and continuously refines the product. Their quality control team tests every single steam generator before it departs the factory. Who else does that? Nobody. I have had the pleasure of working with some world-class designers and architects who tell me, and you probably know this, that the idea of luxury has changed and continues to change, especially when clients want a spa-like bathroom. Steam is mandatory. or it's just not considered a luxury space. And if you want to add steam, you have one true option. It's Thermosol. And now, Thermosol, the industry leader in steam, bath equipment, and technology since 1958, is enhancing their already stellar family of products with new indoor and outdoor luxury saunas. Available in 3 design configurations, each sauna is handcrafted from clear Western red cedar or Nordic spruce, inspired by the brilliance of Northern European sauna technology and design. A luxury bathroom isn't luxury without steam. If you want luxury, you have one option. It's Thermosol. Check them out at thermosol.com and at Thermosol on the socials. It's funny, too, because when I was here last time, I've already got the name and the introduction, and I've already rolled that in, so everyone already knows who you are. Back again, so you and I met. I moved to Tulsa for part of this design house project, and we started working together. I've always wanted to learn how to turn wood.
Yeah.
And so I joined the club. And we met and we were working on my first bowl.
Okay, yeah.
Which I absolutely loved. And since then, we've sort of gotten to know each other, and I thought it would be really nice to have something that is handmade in this design house, because we're in Tulsa. We're in a home that was built in 1936. So I thought it would be interesting, and it sort of like led me down this rabbit hole in talking to you about the stories. You didn't start as an artisan from a young age,
No.
Why? What made you want to do this?
Well, so growing up, my sister is insanely talented from an artistic perspective, and I always wanted to be artistic, but my eye-hand coordination, the fine motor skills that I typically we attribute to young girls that they learn. They do table play when they're growing up. My handwriting is all but illegible, right? I mean, it's awful. So, I probably from a creative perspective, I didn't really have a very good outlet for that. I'm not musical. I tried to take some lessons, but I had to learn how to play the piano. And when I was doing that, I was younger, and my hands were even smaller than they currently are, and I couldn't reach a full octave. I don't even think I still can. And so therefore, that was kind of out the door, because I couldn't play the piano, and so I really didn't have a very good creative outlet. And so woodworking was kind of one of those things that I picked up. And when I say woodworking, I'm talking about flat woodworking. But no, I didn't start out as an artist, and I don't know that personally I would even classify myself as an artist even today. I would classify myself more in the maker community, and you. I can just look at you and I can tell you disagree with that statement when you look at, and there are a lot of people who I've said that to, and they say the same thing. They say, no, you're really an artist. But to me, it doesn't feel like when my daughter will take a canvas and start with nothing, and when she's done, you look like you could reach into it and touch the people that are there. That doesn't feel like what I do.
I get what you're saying, but at the same time, you are creating something from a chunk of wood.
Yeah.
And I would differentiate it this way, which, by the way, this is one of the reasons why I'm starting this new series for Convo by Design called Handmade, American Made by Hand. It really is interesting to me. So I had a chance to sit down with a friend of mine who is a chef in LA at an amazing restaurant, Rossoblu, which he makes, it's Northern Italian cooking. And he said something really interesting to me. He said, I'm a craftsman, not an artisan. And I had to ask him what that meant to him. And he said, I'm not creating anything new. I'm taking what my grandparents made for me during the summers when I would go from LA to Italy and spend the summers with them, and I would recreate it. I'm not trying to change it. I'm not trying to modify it. I am trying to make the best version of that I possibly can. So in that sense, I'm not an artisan. I'm a craftsman. Now he also has super fine foods. I think super fine pizza where, he's trying some new things out there. So maybe,
Sure.
Then you can be sort of a food artisan. I think that there's a difference. But I think with you, I think you're most certainly an artisan. Are you a fine artist? I don't think woodworking and fine art, maybe they're related. More of, vessels are utilitarian, so are they still art? I guess that's the debate we could have.
No, I think there there are actually artistic things that when you are creating a vessel that or a plate or a bowl or a whatever that to the untrained eye, you're not going to know why. And I know, Josh, you'd be able to look at it and you'd be able to say, well, I don't like it and for this reason, or I do like it for this reason. But the vast majority of people look at it and they go, I like it or I don't. Okay? And there's a process that you have to go through to learn, well, wait a second, there's a reason why people do or don't like something, right? And I will... in the bowl class that you took from us, right? We'll get people who are in there and they'll make a bowl, and technically it's a bowl, but it's their first bowl. All right, let's be kind, right? I mean, it's their first bowl, and they don't have. They're just still trying to get the mechanics of how to actually make a bowl, and they haven't gotten to the point where they're like, well, wait a second, it needs to be pleasing to hold, it needs to be pleasing to look at, because as pretty as the wood is today. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, it's the wood will kind of lose its interest because the grain will sort of, I don't know how to put it exactly, but you just can't see the detail in it.
It blends.
Yeah, it blends. And so now what you're talking about is what do you have left, right? You have the shape, and you have the way it feels when you pick it up, and you have and there's definitely an art to that, and there are times when you have to sit down and go, you know what, this bowl that I just made needs to be burned because it's just not pleasing in any way, shape, or form, and that's because you didn't pay attention to those some of the most important rules associated with it.
Well, and it's interesting because I challenged you on this project for the design house to say, how can we come up with something that is both different and unique and will stand the test of time? And you're like, oh yeah, I know exactly what we're going to do. So it's a spalted pecan.
Yeah.
That was kiln dried.
Yes.
And it's native to Oklahoma.
Yep.
Came from a local tree. And here's what's interesting about it is if you want anything, you could say, okay, I want a wood bowl, I want a wood plate, I want a vessel, I want a vase, I want a whatever, a goblet that's wood.
Yeah.
You can find it on Amazon.
Sure.
What you can't find is the originality and the handmade and the story behind it. And at the end of the day, if you just want a plate to eat something off of, throw it in the dishwasher, put it on the shelf,
go to
Walmart. Rinse, repeat. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can go to Walmart, you can go to Amazon, and you can get that. But when a collector is looking for something, is looking for a vase, they're not looking for something where they can just put a flower in it and put it on the shelf or put it on the counter.
Right.
There's a story behind it. And I think what's so interesting about what you do is there's a relationship with the wood. There's a relationship with the product, because the original product, it's going to change.
Yeah. It absolutely does. I mean, wood itself, right? Every tree is unique, and you're going to run into knot holes. You're going to run into grain that goes a different way for whatever reason. You can certainly find consistent wood, but what's fun, like this piece of pecan that we got for yours, and the reason we went and got kiln dried wood is just because of the time frame you were on. But it was a tree that was taken down by a local tree company, and the reason why they took it down was, either the tree was dying or it had to come down for another reason. It was not harvested to make this project with. It was rescued, as the way I like to put it, from being burned. A lot of the wood, almost exclusively, that I get is from, it's from Oklahoma for the most part. There's an occasional thing where I'll buy a special piece out of California or someplace like that. But it's wood that most likely somebody was going to saw it up and chop it up into pieces and put it in their fireplace over the winter time. And if we can make something pretty out of it instead, it's kind of fun. But so anyway, this piece that we went after, even though we bought kiln dried wood, you're right. Most of what I do is not. It's wood that I run into because somebody had to take a tree down in their front yard or something.
You are listening to my conversation with artist and woodturner Brad Glock. We'll be right back. We are living at a time of incredible growth, both technologically and creatively, with respect to interior design, exterior design, and architecture. There is no question. There are companies thinking differently about the business of design and how to make products super serve those for whom they're being made. One of those companies, and one of my favorites, is Moya Living. Designer and fabricators of some of the most stunningly beautiful, incredibly durable, and highly functional kitchen, bath, and outdoor kitchen cabinetry on the market today. Powder-coated steel with stunning lines, vibrant colors to fit any design style or aesthetic. A history of designing cabinetry for the scientific community, so it's been tested in some of the truly the most harsh conditions available. Moya O'Neill is the CEO and founder of Moya Living. She's the inspiration behind the design. Designers, their specification process is so simple. It will make your job so much easier. Check them out online through the socials at Moya Living, their website, moyaliving.com, and in the real world, their live kitchen showroom in Fountain Valley, California. Convo by Design is more than just a podcast. I'm not sure if you know that. I have spent the past 10 years building a production company and consulting firm that develops brand ambassador programs, CEUs, live event programming, as well as branded content for companies in the design and architecture industry, including designers, architects, furnishing companies, showrooms, and others in the trade. We have content producer talent in every region of the country and can help you grow your design business through brand development campaigns, social media, and CEU content development and production, as well as content consulting and live event programming to help you build strong and meaningful partnerships that will help you grow and strengthen your design business. For more information, message me at Convo by Design with an X on Instagram or email me convobydesign@outlook.com, CONVOBYDESIGN@outlook.com. And many of the projects that you've worked on, you've been the equivalent of an interior designer or an architect in AD or Elle Decor or Lux or some other trade publication. You've been published, your work's been published, and you got 2 covers, which was interesting back to back. When you're telling me that story, tell me again, because I just
so
it's fascinating.
There's a website called World of Woodturners, and it was kind of social media for woodturners before social media was a thing. I don't know how long they've been going on, but I've been a member of them for a long time, but I never posted anything because I never felt like anything I did was really worthy. And then I kind of lost track because Facebook was around, right? And Instagram and name it, any other way you want to promote your work or you just want to show it off. It's available. And I'd kind of forgotten about World of Woodturners. But what they do is it's literally you have to belong to it to post a picture of your work. And then there's hundreds of pictures that are posted every week. And every day of the week, somebody, and these are people who are in the wood turning community, they sort of curate that, right? And every day they pick somebody's work to be on the cover of their website. And what's really interesting about that is there are people who have gone their entire career and they post hundreds of things out there and they never get the cover. Every single person that I know that's a serious wood turner, if they get the cover, they splash it all over every social media, every place that they have a social media account because it's so exciting. And the very first thing I posted for them they chose as their cover. And I thought, wow, talk about getting lucky, right? The first thing you ever post, that's never going to happen again. And literally a week later, they chose another piece that I had posted. And they were just, they're very interesting pieces to me from a wood turning perspective. They have a very interesting shape, and I did things to them that are that look very organic to me, and yet I'm still very surprised and honored that I've gotten that twice. I haven't actually tried again, just because I'm currently working outside of wood turning. And it's hard to have time to create a lot of things and also go to a job 60 hours a week. So,
and I think it's interesting too, because for the most part, you get to choose the medium in which you work.
Yeah,
I mean, there's so many different things you can do with wood to turn it, which makes it part of the art. And I think too, going back to natural products has also become so popular lately, but at the same time, people want domestic. They want it made by hand.
Yeah.
They want it made by people they know or can follow, so that they can tell people, I know where this came from.
Yeah. And I know where, for the most part, every piece of wood, when I give it to somebody or when I sell it to somebody, I can tell them, I know where this tree came from, and I know the story behind it. And that makes it even more interesting for them, but it also, again, back to the whole rescuing of the tree, right? If you've got a tree that was going to be burned or just thrown in a trash heap somewhere, it's wonderful to be able to say, hey, this was growing in this person's front yard for 50, 60 years, and they didn't want to take it down, right? This was not, but it had to come down for a reason. Typically, a lot of the wood that I get has a lot of bug holes in it because they've been attacked by some sort of a bug, and that's why the tree companies are coming in to take them down. But you say I get the option to work in this natural product, which is wood, and you're right. I mean, there's a lot of things that you could do with it, right? I guess can you take a chunk, this one big chunk, and you turn that into something. But there are other people who take wood that is, thinner, and they'll cut it apart and they'll reglue it together and they'll put that together. That's not my particular desire for the most part, but I've done it. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities to go whichever direction you want with this. But it was interesting, as I was telling you about my buddy who has that open segmented egg that he makes. Well, he makes a lot of things that are segmented, but he will tell you that form is king, even in his work. Even though he uses different colored pieces of woods and he makes beautiful designs. I mean, his stuff looks like a Fabergé egg, but it's out of wood. He'll tell you that if without the form, then the piece is junk, because one day the wood's all going to look about the same color, and all you have left is what it feels like when you pick it up or when you're looking at it, the shape that it has. So I'm not sure I took where you were going with that question, but the form, the wood is in and of itself, it's a lot of fun to play with, just because it's rescued, for lack of a better way to put it.
What is your style? What are some of the things that you prefer?
So my absolute favorite thing to make is a hollow form, and from a hollow. And what I mean by a hollow form is literally, it's almost globe shaped, but I mean it can have any kind of form. A hollow form could be defined as a vase, right? It's a deep hollow vase, but when you're thinking about people who make that out of clay, as an example, that is a fairly easy process to understand, right? For lack of a better way to put it, you build it from the bottom up. But when you're talking about a piece of wood, right, you're starting with it, and it's already there. The vase is there. You just got to cut away what isn't the vase, and that there are technical challenges associated with that when something is 18 inches deep and you're trying to get a tool down inside, and you've got a 3 horsepower motor spinning that thing around, and you're trying to dig that wood out. That is way different than you've got it on a pottery wheel, and you're starting, and you've got all the clay down at the bottom, and you make the bottom when the bottom is right there in your hands. And then when you're 6 inches up, you're making the part that's 6 inches up, but the clay's in your hands at 6 inches. It's not 2 feet tall, and you're reaching down in to create it. And you say, "Oh, how do you know this, Brad?" Well, I have a pottery wheel too. I'm not very good at it yet, but I'm trying. Segmented wood, right, is like that. You build it from the bottom up. And so the kinds of things that I like to make hollow forms first and foremost, just because it's technically challenging. I think they're beautiful to look at. I think that if you pay attention to the form, it's something that's going to look beautiful for a long period of time. The problem, the one thing I don't like about hollow forms is they're generally not very useful. So, as an example, the plates that we're making for your design house, they are very useful. They're a design that we worked on it together, but they're a design that I would not have chosen by myself because, as you said, this is form following function. And yet, it's funny that I look in my cabinet here, and I've got plates that I got when I got married 33 years ago. And they're very, very similar. They're very flat, and then they have a nice edge to them. And yet, I still have them in my cabinet.
And for reference, the challenge was to go with something that was a Bauhaus style, something from the school of Bauhaus that was very obviously very functional, extremely utilitarian, but turns out also very, very high style. It's what I love about this too is the artistry is really in the fact that you can't make 2 that are exactly the same. It's not possible because the wood grain is different by piece of wood that you have. The amount of reconstruction, due to Mother Nature taking a chunk out here or a beetle taking a chunk out there.
Yeah.
But you have to figure it out, and that therein too lies some of the artistry in this. And that's why I'm so excited about this. When you say this is not a style I would have chosen, I really love that because when you see this, when you see the images, what I told Brad is I showed him some images of a Bauhaus style and said, but I'd like these plates to function this way. That was not what's there was not my idea.
Oh,
that's what you came up with, and I love that. And there were certain
pretty funny.
And so that's what I think is so interesting about the interpretation. It's the same to me as when somebody commissions a work.
Yeah.
Commissions a piece from an artist and they say, here's what I'd like it to be. And the artist, in this case, thinks that it was my idea. That wasn't my idea. That is that what actually happened is the artistry fit my idea. And that's kind of where it comes from. That's what you bring.
Well, I think they're cool looking, to be honest with you. I mean, and like I said, I wouldn't have, in my mind, I wouldn't have set out to design them the way that we did. But they're, once you get them finished and sanded and everything else, and you just look at them, they're going to be gorgeous. I know I've seen enough of what you've done so far that I know that they're going to be gorgeous as part of what you are doing. And you will. The average individual may walk in and just say, well, those are some nice wooden plates, but I know that they are going to fit very well in a very upscale build that you're doing. I mean, I think what you're doing is just fantastic. So
Thank you. I appreciate that, but I think it's fantastic, and I appreciate that. I will take that. I agree with you. But it's fantastic because of the people that I'm working with. Whether it's John McClane in LA or Gail Davis in New Jersey, the designers that are working on these spaces, and this particular space was a collective, this is more of an idea space. And it's revolving around the pieces, and it's revolving around the artisans that are involved, and which is why, I can't think of anyone else that I would have wanted to contribute to this, because I think what you're doing is great. It's fun to watch, but what's also fun is to sort of watch the wheels turn.
Yeah.
No pun intended, but to actually watch your process through this. When I got here today to Bartlesville, you had 10 questions for me.
Yeah.
Right? What do we do with this? What do we do with that? What do you want to do with this? And I think that is, honestly, that is part of the artistry question that I think gets lost in translation sometimes. I feel like many people will think when it comes to art, fine art, paintings on the walls, sculptures on the tables, people will say, or a sofa in a living room that a famous brand created, that there can't be, with a fine artist, that there can't be give and take or some influence. I think what good artisans do is they look at the people for whom they're crafting, and they say, what would that person like? And then try to put themselves psychologically in their head, which is where your questions came from.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, the roof of the Sistine Chapel was commissioned, wasn't it? I mean, and that, I think most people would call that art.
Absolutely.
For lack of a better way to put it. Oh, well. Anyway.
No, so I love that. And so it's funny, too, because just since you and I have gotten to know each other, I've watched your operation build, and we've talked about new lathes and the machine shop and the wood shop and all of the things. I think it's really interesting. Do you find that the more you get into this, the more you realize you don't know, and you want to start learning more about it?
Yeah, well, so 16 years into it, right? So it's been doing it for a little while. Most of the things that I look at that other woodturners create, I can tell you, I know probably how they did that. There are a few out there that have some pretty cool things that they do that you've got to really think about. So from that perspective, maybe not. But what is more interesting to me is just the breadth of what you can do with it, right? So I'm if you will, this started out as a hobby, something to do to keep me from driving my wife crazy, to be honest with you. But and you've seen some of my early pieces; they're god awful. But it's just like some of the bowls that the guys turn their first bowl, right? It's tough to be good at it at the beginning. But what's really interesting is 16 years later, it still has my attention, right? So the plates we're making for you, they're completely different than anything I would have ever made. I wouldn't have chosen the style to start with until you pointed me in that direction. And yet, I look at them and I think these are going to be gorgeous, right? And and that's interesting. And was the turning in and of itself, was it tough to do? No. Is it hard to get them to come out at least somewhat consistently so that they'll not look out of place? Because anything you do when you have a change in wood turning anyway, I always tell the people that I teach, make sure that it's obvious that you did it on purpose, right? You didn't so that people didn't think that was a mistake. And so I don't want these to look like a mistake on your table. I want them to look like they belong together, and they won't be identical. There's no way for them to be, like you said, but they're. I don't know. It's very. There are so many things you can do with it, right? So there's that. There's carving. There's burning. There's taking a piece of wood that has holes in it and instead filling those holes with a resin, and you end up with a beautiful effect from that. There's you hollow it this way. You dig the bowl out that way. You could do, like we were talking about earlier, you could do side grain bowls. You can do end grain bowls. And it sounds, I don't know.
It sounds nerdy, is what it sounds like.
I was going to say to the non wood turner.
It's great.
To the non wood turner, this is all like, yeah, whatever, right? And I get that. But when you do them, and the different effects that you get out of them, and just the beauty of it, right? It is. I do find that it is a hobby, whatever you want to call it, an avocation that is. I don't think I'm ever going to lose interest in doing it. It's very fulfilling, and that's one of the reasons why I was teaching that class at the club where you came through, is because I want to share this love of wood turning with other people, because it's something that even the most well-known wood turner in the United States is not known. They're just not. And because it's not, and I suppose that's true for any current artist, right? It's very difficult to get to a level where you could be nationally recognized as an artist while you're alive.
And yet, what's really interesting was when I came over this morning, you were showing me this nesting bowl set, which is just absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
It's really beautiful, and for anyone out there who is interested in learning more about Brad and his studio and his work, go to the show notes. There will be a link to his website so you can check out what he does, and stay tuned for the Convo by Design Tulsa Remote 2022 Design House, which is, I'm going to be calling this the 2022 Design House in 2025 when it's finally done. But whatever, it's all good. No, next year we'll change it to 23. But anyway, I digress. Go to the show notes and check out Brad's work. Brad, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no problem. I'm enjoying it. I'm having a great time. And by the way, the best part of this is that you are part of it too. You worked on these bowls too, or these plates too. So.
I love that. Design Hardware's newly remodeled showroom is where you will find a gallery-style space with a thoughtful display of products, purposefully positioned to allow unbridled exploration and discovery. High-end faucets, luxury tile, natural stone, wood floors, and bespoke hardware selections are presented in a holistic manner, strategically arranged to stimulate creativity and transition your vision from the conceptual stage to a fully realized space. Conveniently located, free parking available. Stop by to find your inspiration. Collect samples, get expert advice, and tackle everything on your shopping list all in one place. Visit them online at designhardware.com or in the real world, 6053 West 3rd Street in Los Angeles. Thank you, Brad. Love your work. So appreciate this. I cannot wait to share images of this incredible tableware set. A side note, this collection is available for purchase. Not this exact one, but one of your very own, or one for your clients, customized just for your project. Make sure you contact me directly. Message me at Convo by Design with an X on Instagram, or email me at convobydesign@outlook.com. Thank you to my partners and sponsors, Thermosol, Moya Living, and Design Hardware. You guys make this podcast possible, and I truly appreciate you. You can find direct links to them and to Brad in the show notes, so check that out. Thank you for listening and subscribing to the show. Remember why you do what you do and for whom you do it. I appreciate you. I do this for you. Be well, and until next week, take today first.